it and backs it. For about 111 years now, the world's leading brainiacs get together about every 5 years and determine what scientific phenomena are happening that have yet to been described. And the number one, believe it or not, for 111 years have been placebo, and now we'll add nocebo. And what does that mean, nocebo? Well, on the dopamine comes out, you sing kumbaya, and all your fears go away. And this is not jokes, this is real. So people who are positive, by the way, are always much healthier. A big core of our program here for 70 years now has been bringing back people to that positivity. That's why everyone here gets psychotherapy. Again, it's the most important thing we do here on the Hippocrates campus in West Palm Beach. And so things that squelch that is fear, negativity, hanging out with the wrong people, going through the same broken patterns that you have. And that's a nocebo. And what is a nocebo? You don't believe. I don't believe, not I believe. And when you don't believe, guess what? You're going to get exactly what you are asking for. And so if you don't trust, you're not open, your heart's not big, you're not empathetic, you're not compassionate, you're just in your little tiny shell, you're going to be cracked. And so placebo, even if you don't 100% understand what you believe in, as long as your instinct, your heart, your intuitive and herd instinct says, do it, believe in it. And if you believe in something before you do it, before you physically act on it, you're going to be better at it, you're going to accomplish more, and you're going to become more successful. Who doesn't want to be more successful? Raise your hands. Well, there's a few of you schmucks out there. You want to be very, very successful. So today we're going to tell you that in Mental Health Awareness Week, the two tools that we use here at Hippocrates for all these years with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that we have seen clinically, our medical team work, is remaining positive, remaining affirmative, having a belief system, having a core belief, and get rid of that nocebo. I don't believe in anything. I don't believe in me. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. Out the window that goes. So now we're going to talk a little bit more to you about where I'm going to be heading, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So on May the 22nd, that's right. And I spoke to 40 different media outlets all over the United States, 15 different markets, from California to New York. We talked about Quantum Human. It's going to be the most important book out on health in this decade. So we hope you get a copy of it. I hope you come to see me in Paris, France. Now we're lectured in Texas about a week ago. I bought a cowboy hat. Anna Marie bought a cowboy hat. We're coming down there. We're going to actually ride in on the sunset. And we're going to be talking to you in Texas because we love people all over the world. Now we're going to have questions from any of you. Make them really hard today because I'm in one of those moods. I need to be challenged. So bring them on.
Here we go.
The first question, please. Here they come, rolling in. I struggled with alcoholism for almost 20 years, and I'm now living clean and sober. Congratulations. So the listeners who aren't familiar with this, only 5% of people remain sober. It is a very, very grim because of the system they have, so-called recovery system. My doctor recently gave me a clean bill of health, which I'm so grateful for, but I still worry about the impact those years may have had on my body. Now, the great news is God figured out we were going to be idiots. And he made it so that our bodies completely 100% regenerate in 7 years. Now, listen to these remarkable facts. Your heart regenerates in 30 days. Now, what does Brian mean on that? Is this an esoteric statement? No, this is anatomy we're talking about. If I take your heart out and analyze every cell, put it back in, 30 days from today, you have a 100% totally new heart. Parts of the brain, 2.5 days, stomach lining, 5 days, human lungs, 70 days. So hold your horses, you're rebuilding yourself. Now, as long as you get on a proven, incredible program like the Hippocrates lifestyle, you're going to rebuild better than you ever have and better than most people you know who didn't have an alcohol problem in the past.
Excellent.
What's the next question here? The next question we have. All right. Can you completely heal from diverticulosis, diverticulitis, Crohn's disease, colitis? Yes, an emphatic yes. One of the things that's really remarkable, if you go to mainstream, and even holistic docs, which are really mainstream docs hiding under the auspices of holistic, they actually are going to tell you that this is something you should never ever eat raw food with. So why we've had thousands of people recover is we tell you the opposite. Now, think about diverticulosis, diverticulitis, Crohn's disease, colitis, irritable bowel syndrome as being an intestinal tract that's like a cave that's filled with mold, filled with disease, has no life, has no energy, has nothing in there that you want to be around. And so it starts to default. It starts to go bad. Now, by eating living, enzymatic, rich food, maybe not the way I would, where you'd go up and just chew it and eat it. We have to blend it, we process it, we have to juice it. We then slowly engage you so you can build up to the roughage that you need in the future without having the irritation from the roughage. Which, by the way, why you have an irritation is you didn't eat roughage in the past. As sure as I'm sitting here, that's the truth. And you will recover. Now, the sad news is this is going to take patience, commitment, and follow through. So it's PFT, patience and follow through. And if you don't have that, just continue on the rest of your life. You'll end up with more and more problems. And usually those disorders end up inflaming into CC. I don't want to tell you what that initial means, but it's CANCER. So you want to get over that pretty quick. What is a proper protocol for decreased mobility and muscle wasting when patients have high toxicity, cadmium, arsenic, aluminum, mercury, as tested by hair samples? Should blood also be tested? Yes. And today we have genetic testing that is pretty much foolproof. So the old hair testing, pretty good. It was the 1970s approach. Now we have the 2025 approach, which is a genetic blood test that is 100% accurate. And we tell. Now the testing isn't as important because the most important thing is what are you going to do? So your boyfriend or girlfriend has to be an infrared sauna. You have the ability to really want to heal yourself. You want to be in there a really long time. Most important, you've got to call Hippocrates store and get our newest product, Life Give Masterpiece. You get our newest magazine, came out today, by the way, and this is about biohacking, You want to know, we were the inventors and the pioneers of biohacking. And in there's an ad that explains this to you in the science. 100 independent scientific papers show you nothing ever in the history of supplementation or medicine has ever detoxed the body like Life Give Masterpiece Liquid does. So you get into the sauna, you do that. And of course, I don't have to tell you, eat a pristine diet, stay away from all those horrible things like animal-based foods and sugars and breads and coffee and cake and ice cream and all that stuff that keeps Hippocrates going, because when you eat that, you end up here, like it or not. The next question we have, quite simply, is, come on, drum roll. What is a proper, no, we just said, do you have any reference for helping heal or support Parkinson? Sure, we do it here. Matter of fact, we have one of the 40 top doctors, progressive doctors in the world, who's our medical director, Dr. Josh Hellman, who went to a few interesting schools. Harvard was one of them, Cambridge was another, MIT was another. He's a world leader in helping people with Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's disease. But you have to be really ready to change. If you want some pill and it's going to magically go away, ain't going to happen. You want to really get better, become the Hippocrates Health Institute. So this is something we've worked with for 70 years very, very, very well. And now we have it on steroids, because with our new advent of understanding and diagnosis, we can see a lot more than we did even 5 years ago. The next question, please. Here we go. What are your thoughts on HRT? Well, when you look at HRT, it's not appropriate for everyone, but can be very, very helpful for some people. But this is something that our medical team and Anna and I actually look at deeply before we would suggest taking HRT. And this is an important help for people who need it, but they have to be the right candidates with the right biochemistry, with the right health. Osteoporosis, level 4, risk of lumbar, back, but hip and femur in 2. Wow, this is a bad case of osteoporosis. What is the supplements recommended, and does 45 mn 4 times week of resistant training is enough to reverse and heal? Well, let's start with the number one way that you heal osteopenia, osteoporosis, and by the way, premature aging and getting old and all that stuff. It's called weightlifting, weightlifting, weightlifting. Now, putting up 4 times a week, well, I go 3 times a week for at least 3 hours and lift heavy weights. So if that's the marker of what you need, that's the marker. So if you go and lift light weights 4 times a week, you're not going to do very much for yourself. Now, if you have the ability to find a well-educated physical therapist or exercise physiologist who has experience with working with people like you, and they will give you specific weightlifting exercise that will get you to where you need to go quick. Now let's reverse engineer. Now we get to the second most important, and that's nutrition. So I hope you like arugula, because arugula is an amazingly, amazingly good source, inexpensive source of calcium. And calcium is not the most important, because we don't have calcium without magnesium, and both of those things happen to be in arugula. Also, the supplements that we've been suggesting here successfully for a very long time is biotin, which is an amino acid, biosil, which is a specific form of silica, and we also have minerals like magnesium, and liquid forms like the Eden we distribute here are hands down by far the best. We've been using them for about 20 years now on thousands, tens of thousands of people with great, great results. Manganese is also another very important one in this process. But remember, I said the big job is really the weightlifting, doing it correctly and doing it often enough and increasing the weights. Don't go in and lift heavy weights initially. If I did, I would have hurt myself 40, 50 years ago. I started low and slow went up, and that's what you need. You will reverse it. I've never worked with a person who was patient enough, who did what we said with our professional team here on the campus who really are experts in this, who didn't bring about their own recovery. And God forbid, avoid those drugs. What sea vegetable is best to avoid thyroid problems, and how much do I take? Well, let's read the whole question. Also, I would like to know about strontium, which is another thing good for your bones, by the way. That's a good segue. And Friend's mom says it is a carcinogen and not very healthy. She's wrong. Small amounts of strontium are perfectly fine for you. Strontium can be radiation if you take the wrong type and too much. I don't believe it because I believe in Brian. Well, thank you. I believe in me too. However, I want to explain why you're concerned about that. Well, let's go back and tell you that strontium in small amounts have actually been shown to activate bone development because I don't want to elaborate, but my newest book, Quantum Human, deep dives into this. Everyone will understand it after that. But just a little nutshell, is your body's cells are electromagnetic frequencies. Strontium is a very strong electromagnetic frequency, and at very small amounts, it actually helps to bond cells together. Now, what do I talk about cells for? Your bones are made of cells, the same cells that make my skin and your organs make the bones. You just have more dense and more in one place of that. And so that's what you want. And the very first thing I want to tell you is don't worry, don't get all worked up in these things. Thyroid is not being caused by sea vegetables. Thyroid is being caused by long-term deficiencies of iodine, which haven't been in food for a very, very long time, unless you have organic food and grow it close to the coast, and selenium, which is almost absent in all the food around the world, so small amounts you can't even find it practically. And so that's what it is. And then, of course, the use of cell phones and wireless and laptop computers and all of this nonsense, that escalated this 3 to 4-fold. We used to have 20% of women from young to older with thyroid problems. Now we have about 70%, either severe or lighter amounts. Men have gone to 20%. We were almost negligible at one point. So here we go. Another question. Just one question about fasting. What would be a beneficial 1-day week fast for 15-hour fast every day? I am 78 years old, a senior living in Canada. If you ever have a special pricing for 1 week, we do. And don't you worry, you come down here, we'll take care of you. But the reality is I've been fasting since 1971. From 1971 till about 1988, I fasted 1 day a week. Starting in 1988, I added a second day. I'm not suggesting this for you. Remember, I've done this for 55 years now. So let's start with 1 day. And I also only eat 1 meal a day, weekends sometimes too. But 5-6 days a week, sometimes 7 days in a week, I only eat 1 meal a day at the wrong time. I'm going to tell you the time. If you're going to eat 1 meal, a 15-hour delay, which is intermittent fasting, try to do it in the middle of the day. I'm so darn busy, I don't do that. I do it at the wrong time. But the truth is, I'm a big fan of that, especially at 78. Maybe if you were a young 20-year-old athlete, I would be telling you to eat 2 meals and more caloric intake. But when you're in your 70s, like this gentleman in Canada and I am, our body starts to say, slow down, we don't need so much. Eat high nutritious food, high nutritious juices. And by the way, don't keep using my energy, the body says, to break down food and digest and eliminate food. I'm really curious about cold pressed green juice. Well, it's a big word game they play with you. What we do know is that cold pressed juices are not as good as fresh juices. The great news is if they're made in particular ways with nitrogen packing, they can last for several days. But no one should ever tell you they're as good as fresh juice that you drink immediately. But they are certainly better than no juice. Would you say it's as useful as dietary supplements? It depends. How old is it? What do you have in the juice? Is it sprouts? Is it not sprouts? So I do it all. I take 39 food-based organic supplements every day that are raw. I take about a quart to a quart and a half. That's 2.5 liters for those people around the world every single day. And so depending upon your weight, so if you're 200 pound and a kilo is about 2.2 pounds, so you actually half your body weight in fluid minimally, not ideally, minimally a day. Now we have to take things into account. I live in a state where there's humidity. How about if I lived in an arid climate in the Middle East or in the desert of France? Yeah, there's a desert in France. Or how about in Arizona or New Mexico? I'm going to need more fluid because I'm dehydrating at a higher level. How about if I'm exercising outside? More fluid, but at least 1/2 of an ounce per pound. So you weigh 200 pounds, that's 100 ounces of healthy water and or healthy fresh raw green juices every single day, minimally. Again, add those other components and maybe more than that. Our daughter's 2 years old and has eczema on her body. Could you please? And I can really advise you in that, because guess what I had at 2 years old? I had death by asthma. Listen closely. I actually only died once in my life. And thank God my one medical doctor uncle was in the hospital, came and revived me. And then I had eczema at 2 years old, and I did not remove the eczema till I became a complete vegan at 19 or 20 years old. And it took me about 2.5 months. So what you have to understand is doctors are going to tell you they don't know what eczema is. We're not really sure. Blah, 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 blah. You know, eczema is a lung problem. The largest organ on your body, in your body, is the skin. And when the lung is not breathing as well as it should, the poor skin is trying to. And that's why you have that flaky dryness. Now, putting topical things on it may calm it down and take away the inflammation, but it's not going to correct it. We've got to clean up the lungs. And so unless you have a very progressive, intelligent, well-seasoned doctor, she or he won't know this. When people come here, this is how we treat them. You got to get rid of horrible things like white potatoes and breads and dairy food and meats. But most important is white potatoes. I found them to be for psoriasis and eczema, because there's an inherent poison, a toxin in them, the most aggravating, most inflaming. And this can go away, I promise you. Let me put it in perspective. I've never worked with a person who did what we said, our medical team here, that didn't recover from this. So MS is something we've had massive experience with. Obviously, it's a growing disorder. I've had a theory that no longer is a theory since 1980s, that MS was a virus that attacked the brain. And guess what? Last November, they gave us the evidence. The most impressive study I've ever read out of the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, it's really hundreds of thousands of studies I've read in my 55 years of work. And the US military, which is funded by tax dollars, every once in a while does something kind. And they looked at the service women and men for a 20-year period, 10 million. This is a big, big study. And they found out what causes multiple sclerosis is chronic fatigue syndrome, Epstein-Barr virus. And that's what it is. And it erodes and attacks the brain. So when we've seen people recover here, which we've had numerous, endless amounts of people recover, we really were knowing that somehow the immune system, which is completely in the brain, took over, ate away before it ate your brain away, and stopped the development of MS. And even people, the worst case I know of was diagnosed with MS 30 some years earlier. He got on this lifestyle 13 or 14 years ago, and he completely reversed it at that point. Cases like that you're not always going to see, but I did see that. Early stage is a walk in the green park, organic park. Natural shampoo, sure. Hippocrates makes the best in the world. We make something that is so amazing called Become. And our guests use it. I use it constantly. We have a whole line of cosmetics because a good friend of mine was actually editing a book with the top toxicologist in the world about 20 years ago called Toxic Beauty. And when I read that book before it went to the publisher, I was shocked. I really believe that they must have an international conspiracy to kill women specifically, but men with what they put in shampoos and cosmetics and all of this. So as a response to that, I created the cleanest line of shampoos and cosmetics in the world called Become. And of course, you can call Hippocrates, get online to get that. And so that's it. It was water alone is not good enough because eventually you're going to have all the schmut. I don't know if you're German enough to know what schmut means, but dirt all over your face, in your hair. You need to clean a little bit better than water. Now, when you're eating clean like this, you don't need as much, obviously, but I still get into the sauna 365 days a year. I still use shampoo, and I still use clean underwear every day. So, a detachment in the right eye. Why did I get it? And how? Well, what happens is the eyes, unfortunately, are very volatile to circulation, blood cells not getting there. And if an inadequate amount of blood cells reach the eye again is constantly dying the cells and regenerating. So it's unfortunate. That's really why it happened, unless you had a head injury. Now, if you're younger, but you're not, you're in your 60s, a head injury could jolt that away. But in your case, it's probably circulation, 99% positive on that. So when you look at that, it happens to be one of my friends is one of the top 3 eye doctors in the United States, Dr. Chalice. And he's, Johns Hopkins and MIT and Yale University. And I think you should contact him. He's here in northern Florida now. He got out of the deep, cold, not so livable north. And he lives here near the villages in northern Florida. Dr. Chalice. Yeah, he's an Eastern Indian American who's lived here since he was a little boy and incredibly good at what you're asking about. And he guides us when people come here with eye problems too. So non-toxic luggage. This is hard. There's only one that I'm thinking of off the top. That's straw luggage. And it really does hold up. If you get a higher quality, better quality straw luggage, it's non-toxic. Everything else I know, they're using polyesters, they're using plastics, they're using leathers, which I certainly don't think is healthy for you. And that one does breathe. And if they weave it well together, you can get that, but they're not easy to find, and they're not inexpensive, but you'll have them for your lifetime unless you really beat them up. So this is a disorder that I think has been in great part blown out of proportion, ADHD. And I think they categorically made a new disease so that they could give more drugs for it. Now, when I was a kid, I would have been called attention deficit because I was asking questions and not following the program and not always being a good boy. And today what they do is they sedate children who have that hyper vigilance and acute intelligence. Let's just put it that way. And they like to label people. There's some states in the United States where teachers, not doctors or nurses, determine whether or not your children should be on that drug. Mainstream drug happens to be cocaine derivative. The last time I looked, cocaine's illegal everywhere in the world, except you can go to a doctor's office and put your child onto it. And the problem I see with this approach, it may sedate the child. I guess drugs do that. And the problem, people that I know in years ago, I never did, took cocaine. They took enough. The cartilage in their nose was burned up and eaten out. No longer exists. So what do you think happens to a human brain of a child that's developing when you have something that can eat cartilage? That's more like this. Well, I can tell you what happens because now we have the first generation who've been on these drugs for 15 years or more, and they're irreputable. They actually have holes in their brain, and you better study this stuff. So this is something we work with our energy medicine department. There's technologies that are so advanced in this. They have programs for attention deficit, and we also use certain herbs and foods that are specifically to rebuild the brain. And so don't give up. Go forward and move in this direction. How many cups of sprouts do you recommend eating every day? It depends on how healthy you want to be. If you were really, really, really smart, you'd be eating the majority of your diet like I do, half my diet by way of sprouts, either eating it in my salads or in the juices. A big part of it at home when I make juice, it's only sprout juice. And a wide variety of sprouts are the smart thing. Here on the table, we're generally putting 18 to 22 sprouts out at the two major meals, lunch and dinner every single night. And sprouts are my favorite food on the planet, favorite medicine on the planet. And any legitimate scientist who at least thinks they know something about nutrition would have to agree with me because it has these phytochemical elements in it. It has complete proteins, most easy food in the world to digest. It's next to water. This stuff is super easy. And we've been employing them on the sickest and smartest people in the world for 70 years and watching what happens when you eat sprouts. And the science is finally catching up to us here. They're saying, hey, you were right back in 1950s. I got sprouts to get the sunflower, alfalfa, mung, bean sprouts, as well as wheatgrass powder, not so great. I put in my water. Do you consider sprouts a reputable place to get? Well, I think Sprouts is a good place. I think it's become emerged into a health store. When it started in California, I didn't like it much. It was a quasi nothing. Now there's a lot of organic food there. But I can tell you that wheatgrass powder is 1% effective. So when we are making in our juice bar here, and our guests are making their wheatgrass juice, what we throw away, a company would take that and dry it, powder it up, and sell it to you and say it's juice. And the shrewd conman will tell you they take the juice and dry it. But if you take juice and dry it or grind up the roughage of the wheatgrass, you're not getting the juice because it's dried out of it. And that's where the blood of the plant is, and that's what builds your body, takes away anemia, fights cancer, fights viruses, fights bacteria, boosts the immune system. So try to get the juice of all of these things and eat them raw. Raw. What's the best way to regrow hair? Well, number one, I've been using a little brush from Fuller Brush. Now, the oldies but goodies will remember Fuller Brush. The young ones will say, what the hell is he talking about? But get on the internet and look up Fuller. They've been selling a shampoo hairbrush before I was born. And I have a load of them. I saw the other day, I bought about 30 of them. They're in my closet still. I'll have them till I'm 135 years old. And why I like this, and it's the only time you'll ever hear Brian Clement say plastic is better than those brushes made out of horsehair. Because those horsehair split and pull your hair out. This one's plastic, and you just rub your hair and stimulate and bring it. You say, oh, my hair's leaving. It's going to come out more. Leave it. It's going to come out one way or another, but rubbing it's going to bring blood there. Number two, today there are in a lot of the Medi spas, and we used to have one here, just wasn't used very much, technology that you go under, it's infrared technologies that actually spark hair growth. There are also particular supplements. New Chapter makes one to grow hair that's pretty darn good as an example. And then before I talked to somebody with osteoporosis, who I said, take silica, great for the hair. Why my hair at my mid-70s is so thick and really hasn't changed color in any significant way, there's some white in there, I'm not happy about it, but is because I've been taking that silica now for decade after decade and biotin and eating this way and drinking the wheatgrass. Wheatgrass I've seen every single year, 6, 7 people, white hair is turning back to dark again. But you're talking about hair growth and that's it. And by the way, I had a young man here about 2 weeks ago that said that he just went and got a hair transplant. I don't know if that's a word for it, but the old ones looked really weird. Everyone could tell you went to some bad doctor who just put rows in you. This kid, I couldn't tell. He was a young guy. He was probably 35. I couldn't tell. So they're doing a much better job of that if you're really worried about it. But most of you don't need that. I'd say 75% of you never have to go that far. Well, high mold toxicity is something we work with here on a consistent basis. We use nebulizers, particular things in the nebulizer, depending upon the mold you have. Certainly infrared saunas are employed with it. Eating a pristine, clean diet, drinking more than you possibly can manage to detoxify yourself. But more important than anything else, you've got to get rid of the mold so you're not living in it again and recontaminating yourself. This is a big, big problem. And again, Dr. Josh Hellman, our medical director, is a world-leading authority on this. This is not a small thing, and we know diseases come from this. An evening and morning routine. Well, it depends upon, there are people who have unfortunately thrown their circadian rhythm off, and they're not morning people. And you know who I'm talking about it there. My first wife was that person. Maybe one of the reasons we're not together again. I'm a morning person. If you want me to work out, which I do 7 days a week, 4 days a week I do aerobic, and 3 days a week I'm doing weightlifting exercise, no matter where I am in the world, by the way. So when I'm planning a tour like the European tour that starts May 22nd in Paris, France, and ends on June 5th in Stockholm, Sweden, and many countries between Germany and England and Ireland and Amsterdam and Holland, I'm going to gyms. I'm going to saunas. It's got to be part of your routine. And, exercise is powerfully important. Following up with the sauna is even equally important. A study was done at Karolinska up in Scandinavia where they actually showed paraplegics when they were in saunas for 20 minutes at 140 Fahrenheit and above, got 42% of the benefit people did with aerobic exercise. So imagine you do weightlifting, aerobic exercise, then get in the sauna as I do. And it is amazing what that does. Not just detoxification, brings blood, builds muscle, etc. And the other thing, you have to drink a lot in the morning. Between 11 at night and 11 in the morning, your body's pushing waste out. Most important thing to do is get up in the morning and drink, not eat. Now, many of you can't just immediately not eat. I haven't eaten breakfast since 1971. So when they say it's the biggest and most important meal of the way, for people who want to die and get sick and age prematurely, not for healthy people, because the body governs what we need. 11 a.m. is when we can begin thinking of eating. 11:30 to 1:30 is ideal. Hydrochloric acid is most active because of where the sun is year-round at that point. And then also remember, sleep and rest is powerful. The more we study this, it's now entering every single disease avenue. And we now had a big discussion here on the campus with our guests the other day about how dementia in great part is lack of sleep over a long period of time. So that's how your day should look. Again, having a lot of fun, doing what you love, making sure that your relationships are ones that are rewarding and fulfilling to you and the people you're with, making sure the work that you do is passionate, that you're pursuing your passion. If not, I don't care what you eat, I don't care how you exercise, you won't be a happy camper, you won't be as healthy. Nerve damage, most of the time, can be regenerated. We've been using technology here for about 32 years called H-Wave that has study after study after study that shows you how it regenerates nerves. And, neuropathy is part of that. And I can't think of a more painful disease than neuropathy when it gets acute. And this is one of the things we use. But again, if you're eating sugar and eating animal foods and clogging your veins and, drinking coffee and, why sugar and coffee and acid foods like meats and dairy, or something, they actually eat the sheathing, the myelin sheathing off the nerve. And that's where the degradation of the nerve comes. And then it gets injured because you need a buffer. You need something there that protects the nerve. And it's a big problem if you don't have that. So it's diet and lifestyle, but therapy and treatment to expedite that, to make sure you have a really good shot at bringing back the nerve. Possible hepatic C, naturally first taken the antiviral drug. I received hepatitis through blood transfusion. Yes. But let me say to you that there's some medical drugs on the market that I'm a fan of. This happens to be one. And why? Because it has a track record. It's a clinically proven, data-based fact. So when people come to me with these problems, I say the diet and lifestyle works, but why not do both? So what we do is we clean up by killing off the majority of the bad guys. Now, any doctor that would say you kill 100% of viruses, they are lying, exaggerating, and maybe you need a new doctor. You're killing the overwhelming majority, putting it down so now the immune system keeps it away. So it doesn't create a problem and eat the liver or some other organ in the body system, or even the sheathing of the nerve. It could do that. And then at that point, you get on an impeccable lifestyle and diet, rebuild the body. You know, most of you that come here, the 1 million people that have come through the Hippocrates program over the last 7 decades, we have to almost take your building and disassemble it. You know, knock it down, rebuild it again, because that's possible and it's the best way to do it. Now, we have to do it slowly because you can't just knock the building down or you're going to be a goner at that point. So we have to take this room and do it in that room and renovate this room and make sure we have a secure foundation and then rebuild your body through what we've learned here in a clinical setting with all of those people over such a long period of time. No one in the world has done that except Hippocrates. Would you advise against veneers or whitening? Whitening can be okay. There's some peroxides, you don't want to swallow them, that are actually good. Make sure you know what it is. I don't have a problem with that. Veneers can be problematic because of the glue they put on. And if you're ever going to put things into your teeth, not a veneer, you would use zirconia. Germans came up with that. It's what they make fake diamonds out of. This stuff is really hard to break. So it's out of all the material they use to make your teeth stronger. If you need that, that would be it. Now, would a veneer kill you? No, but it's just one little addition of toxemia. Like yesterday, I spoke to a woman who had breast cancer. And of course, I looked at the medical report our medical team did, and she had breast implants. So I said that you have to take them out. Oh, I don't want to. I said, look, you have cancer. You don't want to take out the breast implants? This is what caused the cancer. You got about a 6 to 7 times greater chance of breast cancer with breast implants. It's called explants. There's some good doctors that are doing that now, taking them out. EMF sensitivity is something we are acutely interested in. I teach a 2.5-hour class on it. You may want to look at things I've done on the Real Truth About Health with that. And we have technology. Number one, I spent over the years $128,000 protecting the Institute's 60 acres. So we have a virtual shield over us here, so the 5G and other things aren't affecting us as they are others. Technologies we work with the Europeans on. I may see some in Germany now. I've been wearing this. I haven't taken this off for 11 years, so you know that. This is called High Pulse, HHI Pulse. Out of a Russian technology in my house and in my office. Again, the whole institute has something that's expensive. You can buy a far less expensive unit called Wave Rider that takes care of 99% of the houses, large area. And then next to my bed, another technology we have is called Cocoon. That's amazing because it was put together by the guy who created beamers. He's a physicist who's at the Max Planck Institute in Zurich, Switzerland. And that's next to my bed. You put different things in for different, deep sleep or anxiety, whatever your problem is. And we know it works because even the pets love that machine. And you can't say it's placebo with them. So it's so good to be with you on an on and off basis like this. Whenever I have a chance, I come over here to the studio and I say, let's talk to our friends, our community all over the world, and let's keep growing this community so that no longer are we having participation in the insane craziness we call modern humanity. And let's create the new humanity. I've been working on that really hard since I'm a young guy, and I'm sure we're going to get there someday, but we have to do it together. Be well.